Okay guys, in this chapter, I'm going to show you how to find the exact value of each trigonometric functions without using a calculator, okay? The next slide, I'm going to show you the unit circle. Do not copy down this slide, okay? It's a lot. So I'll just show you what it looks like, and then we'll move on to the next slide so you can copy it down. So this is the unit circle right here. We learned how to draw an angle, right? 30 degrees, 45 degrees. And then we also learned how to convert from degrees to gradient or radians to degrees. And the values that you guys are seeing out here, those are the values that we're going to figure out how to find them later on in today's lessons, okay? So this is called the unit circle. And pretty much we're just doing the basic stuff, not so much the harder stuff here, just the basic stuff. So don't be scared, okay? So let's move on to the next slide where you can copy that things down. So go ahead, copy down this slide and I'll explain what it means. So what you're copying down is a way for us to find the exact trig functions without using a calculator. So all meaning any functions that falls in the first quadrant will be the answer will always be positive. Sine in the second quadrant, only sine function is positive in this quadrant, okay? And then the third quadrant only, this is wrong. It's tangent right here and cosine right here. The third quadrant only tangent is positive, and then the fourth quadrant only cosine is positive, okay? Now when it comes to circle to our coordinate plane, notice that the x-axis is cosine and the y-axis is sine. It's not x and y anymore, okay? So cosine is for x and y is for sine. For our for our circle right here, this point is 1, 0. This point is 0, 1. This one is negative 1, 0. And this one right here is 0, negative 1. It's important you have this slide out onto your paper. And keep in mind that the order pair, this is cosine, sine. Okay? So let's do the problem. You can pause the video if I'm moving too fast. So it says find the exact value of each trigonometric function, sine 45 degrees. So step 1, we're going to sketch our angle, okay? So 45 degrees, this is our initial side. So 45 degrees has to be somewhere right there. This is 45 degrees. After you sketch the angle, step 2, you're going to make a triangle. When you make the triangle, you're always connecting the terminal side to the x-axis, okay? And that you should have a right triangle, a 45 degrees triangles. And remember earlier when you draw the unit circle, from here to here it's 1, 0. So the distance from here to here has to be a 1, okay? If from here to here is 1, then this side has to be a 1. So since it's a 45, 90 degrees pattern, if this is 1, then this side has to be 1 square root of 2, or just square root of 2, okay? So, and then step 3, we label our triangles, we did that already, and then step 4, find the trig value, okay? So in this case, it's sine 45 degrees. Sine 45 degree is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So from this angle perspective right here, opposite is 1. And hypotenuse is square root of 2. So since we cannot have a square root of 2 at the bottom, we're going to multiply square root of 2 top and bottom. Then we have square root of 2 over square root of 4, which is square root of 2 over 2. And then the last step, we have to determine if our answer is going to be the positive or negative. In this case, our trig function falls in the first quadrant. That means any answers in the first quadrant is always positive. So this answer is positive right here. So that's it. That's how you do the problem. Okay, let's move on to number 2. In number 2, same thing. Step 1, we're going to sketch the angle. Right here it says positive 315 degrees. So our initial side is right here, and 315 degree is starting from here. We go 180, plus 90, that's 270, and then plus another 45, that's 45 degrees. Okay, then step 2, we're going to make a triangle by connecting the terminal side to the x-axis, and then this right here is 45 degrees, and this is 45 degrees. Just like earlier, from here to here, it's 1. If that side is 1, this side has to be 1, and the hypotenuse square root of 2. And that's going to be always the pattern, okay? So tangent 315 degrees is opposite over adjacent. So opposite is from this angle's perspective right here, from 45 degrees. So opposite is 1 over adjacent, which is another 1. So 1 over 1 is 1, okay? Then our last step, we have to determine if our answer is positive or negative. Remember earlier when you copy down the slide, it says all student take calculus. So in quadrant 4, only cosine can be a positive answers. The rest falls in that quadrant, cannot be a positive. So therefore, this answer has to be a negative. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Cosine negative 315 degrees. So step 1, sketch the angle. Our initial side's here, and since it's negative, we're going to go down right here. So that's 180, plus 90 is 270, and then right here, that's a 45. Step 2, make a triangle by connecting the terminal side to the x-axis, and that's going to be 90 degrees. So this is 45, and then this is 45. And then step 3, label our sides. 1, 1, square root of 2. And then step 4, we're going to find the trig value, and in this case, cosecant, a negative 315 degrees. Okay, so cosecant is a cousin of sine, right? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosecant has to be hypotenuse over opposite, okay? So right here, our hypotenuse is square root of 2, and our opposite is, and again from the 45 angle perspective, square root of 2, and our opposite has to be 1, okay? So it's going to be 1. Square root of 2 over 1 is square root of 2. And then last step, determine if your answer is positive or negative. So in this case, it's in the first quadrant. It's all. Anything falls in the first quadrant will always be positive. So the answer is square root of 2. Okay? Let's move on to number 4. Okay, number 4, cosines 180 degrees. So step 1, we're going to sketch triangle again. 180 degrees. But look, we cannot make a triangle on this one. So this is a special case right here, okay? So if your angle falls exactly where the axes are, then there is no triangle, okay? You just have to use reasoning. So we know that cosines 180 degrees falls right here. This blue dot right there, right? And we know that that dot right there is negative 1 comma 0. And remember earlier I said it's not x and y anymore, it's cosine and sine. So cosine, and that is sine. So really, cosine 180 degrees, the answer is negative 1. It's from here. That's it. There's really no work, it's just the drawing is the work, okay? So for example, kind of confusing, isn't it? So for an example, I'll give you a different example. let's just say if I ask you sine 180 degrees, right? So same drawing, but you see the sine 180 degrees, it's right here. So the answer has to be 0 for sine 180 degrees. Okay. I'll give you another example, okay? To make it less confusing, more practice. Let's just say you have cosine 270 degrees. Okay, so cosine 270 degrees is from here all the way down here, right? And that is 0, -1. So this is cosine, and that is sine. So cosine of 270 degrees, the answer has to be 0. You see that? 0. If I ask what's sine 270 degrees, the answer is -1. You guys see it? I hope you see it. If you don't see it, ask in class, okay?